Today we're doing creation. Creation is an easy word, an easy thing to understand. We take one thing and we mold it into something else. Creation, we know, you have a child. Where does a child come from? Comes from the mother's womb. Where does the child begin from? It begins from something that doesn't look like a child. But what eventuates and what comes forth is nothing like what it looked like at the beginning. Very different. In a similar vein, this whole earth, this whole world, it came forth from somewhere. It doesn't look like anything of where it came from. Reb Chaim Vital, who is a great Kabbalist, writes many, many books, and as an introduction or as part of his writing, he writes that he's writing spiritual things with physical words, and even though these words don't in any way show exactly what he's seeing and what it is spiritually, but it's at least a way to express it in some form. And so too, we are an expression of some form and shape, yet where it comes from, where it initiates, looks nothing like what we see and what we feel and what we hear. And actually, that's the second word in Genesis. It doesn't mean create. It actually means, although it's used as creation, but the word actually means to come forth or brought forth. Just as when you're sewing and you take a needle and a thread and you put it through the material, you see the needle coming out, but you don't see what's behind the material, only what's coming forth. The same thing is the creation. We only see what came forth. We don't see what is behind it. And that's why sometimes people say the world was created from nothing. Not meaning nothing, but nothing that we can understand. Nothing that we can comprehend. And that is how basically creation came forth. But how does it happen that it comes forth from a place of nothingness? A place of something without definition. At least not the definitions we know of. One way of looking at it is that the Creator, the source of all creation, so you can't even call it a creator in a certain way, it's just in relationship to us it's a creator, but in itself it's not specifically a creator. The source of all existence, and not really even the source, the essence of all existence, is an existence that has no beginning, no end, no form, no shape, and no definition. And if God, that exists forever, has no form, no shape, and no definition, then we have no way of comprehending where we came from, or even why we're here. We do the best we can, but ultimately we do not comprehend it, and we cannot, except in a very limited shape and form. So if we understand that the Creator, that God has no shape or form, no beginning, no end, it makes it much easier to let go of the things we're attached to and what we think we should or shouldn't do, and sit back, breathe, relax, and say, okay, since I'm here, what is the best I can do while I'm here on this plane and in this planet? And that is a very nice way to look at it, because you have your own responsibility, you take responsibility for yourself, but you also don't judge anything. You know that everything is beyond comprehension. Even you, your own self, is beyond your own comprehension. And when you understand you're beyond comprehension, you'll know that everyone else is the same way. And therefore, you'll allow everything to be what it is, accept it what it is, and work with everything with respect and dignity. It's when people have agendas and people have reasons and purposes they get stuck in, that's where separation occurs. So we understand creation because we create things. We make things from one thing to another. We bring forth one thing out of another. We have potential and we bring it forth. But just as the Creator allowed this word to happen. And the reason it happened is very simple. Not because God created it, but because the Creator is beyond definition, has no limitation, therefore the Creator can create finite and infinite at the same time. Therefore finite and infinite are not a contradiction by the Creator, because everything exists. So since the Creator incorporates everything, the ability for things to exist happen automatically. They just happen because there is no limit to what can happen. Just as when a person lets go of everything, and they can become wild and destructive and do anything. In a certain similar vein, freedom that the Creator has means anything can happen. Everything and anything can happen, and probably does happen, because the Creator has no limitation. It's not a matter of right or wrong, good or bad. It's just a natural sequence or occurrence that happens without limitation. But we were created with limitation, and we have limitations, and therefore, while that freedom of being able to have anything happen is great, we also need to know our restrictions in some way. But not restrictions in order to restrict us, restrictions in order to know how to balance with other limited beings, how to interplay. Not to separate us from people, not to separate us from the creation, but ways to balance. It's a different type of restriction. It's not a restriction to incur damage. It's a restriction to teach you how to balance, which is very interesting. Once you balance, it's no more a restriction. Once you balance, it actually is a flow. It becomes how life flows in an infinite way. So from a balance, you can go to infinity in a way that being open to infinity doesn't help you on its own. So everything in life is a matter of balance. Creation is a matter of balance. Our thinking is a matter of balance. And our thoughts and the words we use create the vibration and the feelings that we have throughout our body, throughout our being. And eventually, what happens in our interaction with the rest of creation. So, this is how creation happened. It just happened. And this is how things happen in life. If we let go, everything just happens. Letting go is not something society teaches too much about. They're afraid of it, losing control. But you know what? When you give up control, that's when things are open. That's when everything can happen, because you don't limit yourself and you don't limit others. Have a wonderful day.